definitely heard of thousands of layoffs with dealers and just casino workers.
So the future for a lot of those people is very uncertain.
So, any light at the end of the tunnel right now? Is it looking better?
It's looking darker at the tunnel. I don't think it's going to get any lighter anytime soon.
Las Vegas, a city that once created miracles for millions, but now, on the brink of collapse, Vegas is no longer capable of creating the miracle of recovery for itself. However, the paradox lies in the fact that the first people to feel the pain were not CEOs or giant casino corporations. They still have a reserve fund and are still looking for ways to shift profits to other markets. On the contrary, the strongest blows fell upon ordinary people. These are the middle-class tourists, the ones who once trusted Vegas, but now return with mounting bills and a feeling of betrayal. They are frontline workers, working tirelessly but not earning enough to live, and even having to sleep in their own cars. And they are also Vegas residents, witnessing their hometown transform into a foreign place they no longer recognize. An empty Vegas could be a just sentence for greed. But the question remains, where will those left behind go? In this video, we'll uncover the stories of forgotten people's precariousness, along with the bleak outlook that could reshape Vegas's future. Do you dare to go with me into the dark side behind those bright lights? Let's get started right now. Have you ever thought about treating yourself to a trip to Las Vegas as a birthday gift? For decades, this city, with over 41.7 million visitors annually, was considered a golden ticket, a precious reward for millions of people, not just Americans, but also tourists from around the world. However, as we entered 2025, something changed. A trip that was inherently associated with excitement and joy has now become a bitter experience, a betrayal of trust. A 75-year-old guest shared their birthday story. He took the shuttle to Vegas to see the glittering sphere. But as soon as he stepped off the plane at Harry Reid Airport at 2 a.m., his trip took a different turn. While eating at a fast food restaurant, he was suddenly surrounded by Metro police, accused of trespassing, arrested, and detained for several days before being released downtown. Finally, he spent an additional $60 to hire a taxi back to the airport and take a shuttle home. In a fit of anger, he declared he would never return to Vegas again. The outrage in that narrative is not just personal frustration, but also resonates as an accusation that Las Vegas is no longer the welcoming destination it once was. Vegas has turned collective nostalgic memories into bills, and the trust and loyalty of tourists toward the city for decades turned into betrayal. And now, the only remaining option is not to come here anymore. Reality has proven that turning away. According to News 3 Las Vegas, the number of visitors in 2025 has decreased by over 12%, which is equivalent to about 500,000 trips, like 500,000 tickets to Disneyland being cancelled. A painting clearly shows exhaustion during the summer. Hotels are forced to cut room prices by up to 50%, launch a barrage of promotions, and some even accept waiving the resort fee altogether, as if raising a white flag in the face of the city's emptiness. But despite those efforts, all they received were empty rows of seats, the silent emptiness of a city that was gradually losing its soul. A German tourist returning to Vegas for the fourth time shared.
Yeah, I've come to Vegas regularly. It's like my fourth time here, so I'm from Germany. I love it. It's a great place. You've got great people. The only thing is sometimes it's too expensive, especially like if you go out for dinner or like get drinks at a bar. It's getting out of control.
Tourists still have a special affection for Vegas, still remember the moments that are deeply etched in their memories. However, the ever-increasing costs and closed-off strategies aimed at the ultra-wealthy have erected a concrete wall, preventing them from returning. Perhaps Vegas is slowly following in the footsteps of Atlantic City, which once shone with lights and casinos, but was then drained by corporations to the point of becoming a shadow of its former self. When even the high rollers lose interest, the city is left with debt, injustice, and social scars that are difficult to heal. Ironically, a place that was once a paradise for big dreams has now become a land that nurtures nightmares. Some people cruelly see this as the inevitable price for a city that deliberately excluded the working class to create an exclusive playground for the elite. If even a city that once thrived on the brie, loyalty of tourists can no longer maintain that trust. What is happening to the values that were once the pride of America? But at least tourists still have a choice, to return or to turn away, while for local residents, especially those who live off tourism, there's no way out. Their clinging now is not out of hope, but often just a desperate clinging to despair here. Did you know that nearly 27% of jobs in Las Vegas come from the entertainment and tourism industry? That means when this city's tourism falters, over 385,000 people are immediately thrown into a spiral of instability. They are the ones who keep Vegas lit up every night. But they are also the first to feel the darkness when the city falters. The story of Josefina Heretado, a longtime waitress in the industry, is a clear example. A year ago, she was still earning $50 to $00 a day, plus generous tips. Now, there are only 50 to 60 left. That number not only reflects the loss of income, but also the void in trust and safety in life. With an average hourly wage of only $13.9 and a few $100s in tips each month if they're lucky, workers like Josefina have to struggle to cope with the ever-increasing cost of living. The average rent in Las Vegas has reached $1,652 a month, meaning that over 70% of income may only be enough to cover temporary housing. And ironically, being able to continue working for that meager salary is now considered lucky, because thousands of other workers couldn't even keep their jobs. As tourist numbers dwindled, many hotels and casinos could no longer sustain operations, forcing them to cut staff or close completely. In just one night, 4,300 workers, from casino staff and housekeeping to waiters, suddenly found themselves out of work. Meanwhile, large corporations are doing everything they can to maximize profits, raising room rates, increasing resort fees, but barely increasing employee salaries. In fact, many positions are being replaced by automated check-in counters or AI systems serving customers. The people who once brought life to the city are now pushed to the margins, as if they were just easily replaceable cogs in a cold, profit-driven machine. Images of workers setting up tents outside the strip, sleeping hastily in old cars, or crammed into cramped apartments are perhaps becoming a new normal in Vegas. And the tragedy is, as many people are forced to leave the profession, the city lacks staff, services decline, and tourists return with worse experiences. This vicious cycle only further exacerbates Vegas's decline. They, the ones who once carried the entire city on their shoulders, are now the first to be abandoned. How long can a city survive if those who keep it lit no longer have the strength to light up their own lives? Imagine a summer evening in Las Vegas, when the neon lights still blaze along the strip, but just a few blocks away, an apartment complex is shrouded in darkness. Electricity and water have been cut off because the landlord hasn't received the rent. Children played in the pitch-black hallway, while their parents were trying to negotiate with the police before being forced to move out. These are no longer rare random scenes. It's becoming a familiar rhythm in the city, once known as the capital of extravagance. The reality of deportations is becoming increasingly evident through the data. According to the eviction lab system, Las Vegas saw new single-family eviction waves in 2025, with many months far exceeding the 2023-2024 average. Each deportation case is not just a legal procedure, but the end of a home, the moment a family is pushed out of what they once considered their anchor. And when a proposal to amend the eviction process was introduced at the Nevada State Legislature in June 2025, but was not passed, it meant residents could be more easily pushed out of their homes than ever before, in a legal environment lacking the necessary brakes. Vegas residents are not like tourists who can turn around and go to another destination. They put down roots here, raise families, and build lives. But now, many people are forced to leave the city, not because they want to, but because they have no other choice. A single mother, after months of struggling, finally had to load her belongings onto a cheap rental truck and move her child to live with her sister in Arizona. An elderly couple who ran a family diner for 3 decades sold the store for less than its value and left when the rent exceeded their profits. Each departure leaves behind another empty house, a closed shop, and a void in the community. The long-term social consequences are not limited to individual families losing their homes. As the residents fled, the community disintegrated. Schools lost students, convenience stores lost regular customers, and abandoned churches became temporary shelters. A city that cannot keep its people will gradually lose its very soul. And Las Vegas, once dubbed the city that never sleeps, is now teetering between 2 extremes: the light of entertainment and the darkness of social unrest. In this picture, the solution cannot simply lie in reducing hotel room prices or offering additional promotions to tourists. Those are just short-term pain relievers. Some of the world's largest corporations, such as Costco, have demonstrated that a humanistic business strategy, paying fair wages, keeping prices stable for customers, and building long-term trust, can maintain profitability without sacrificing social sustainability. If Las Vegas truly wants to keep its residents, the city needs to learn from that model, building a foundation based on fairness and responsibility rather than just short-term greed. How long can a city survive when the lights still shine brightly for temporary visitors, but the people who call this place home are fleeing one by one? Is there any magic left to save Vegas from its own internal collapse? Losing your home is already a painful fall, but in Las Vegas, that fall often comes with another loss, the loss of the chance to get back up. Because if you don't have a permanent address, you can't apply for a job. When you don't have a job, you can't rent a house. And that cycle continues to engulf thousands of people, turning losing everything all over again into a harsh destiny. According to the 2024 pit count, Southern Nevada, where Las Vegas is the center, has as many as 7,906 homeless people. This figure is up from 2022, indicating that the situation has not only failed to improve, but is also worsening. The report describes crowded concentration camps with a lack of medical services, makeshift toilets, and many people crammed into tents erected close together to withstand the hot desert wind. In a place once considered the capital of luxury, that irony became a heartbreaking reflection of injustice. Not everyone who lives there is a failure from the start. Many people used to have stable jobs, waiters, taxi drivers, even veterans. But as rent costs soared and the tourism industry plummeted, they became the first names to be crossed off the payroll. And once you hit the streets of Vegas, the chances of returning are almost zero. Without a permanent address, it's difficult for them to find work. Without insurance, they have difficulty accessing healthcare services. With each passing day, they were gradually separated from the community and pushed deeper into the vortex of abandonment. The irony is that while major hotel corporations spend billions building new structures, like the dazzling Sphere just below, people are still struggling to make a living in tents made of tattered tarpaulins. That image is like a bitter metaphor. A city can spend millions on lighting, but can't spare a few hundred for a shelter bed. In that context, some major brands outside the tourism industry have shown a different approach. Patagonia, an outdoor clothing company, has long invested its profits in community funds, supporting the homeless and protecting the environment. This approach proves that a business can absolutely maintain profitability while still creating social value and retaining long-term trust. If Las Vegas wants to retain its soul, perhaps it needs to learn to put people at the center rather than just counting profit numbers. How long can a city continue to call itself the entertainment capital of the world if thousands of people are living in tents right at its doorstep? And if the poor have lost everything once again, can we even hope for a rebirth for Vegas? On the surface, it's easy to think of Vegas as simply a special case, a city that lives off tourism and gambling, now collapsing as visitors turn away. But if you zoom out a bit and look at the big picture of the US tourism industry in 2025, you'll see that Las Vegas is just the brightest spot in a larger trend, a headwind blowing across the entire country. According to the latest report from the US Travel Association, travel spending in the US in 2025 will remain almost flat, or even stagnate month by month. The number of international visitors to the US is also uneven, especially for visitors from markets traditionally considered pillars, such as Canada or Europe. The strong dollar, rising prices, and political uncertainty have made foreign tourists more cautious. This isn't just a Vegas slip-up, it's a shockwave rippling through the entire system. On an international level, the picture is even more bleak. The World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, forecasts that international visitor spending in the US in 2025 will decrease by approximately 7% or $2.5 billion compared to 2024, Reuters. This is a figure that cannot be taken lightly, as it means a series of hotels, restaurants, and small shops across the country, which rely on foreign tourists, will feel a clear gap in their cash registers. When we put those pieces of data together, we see that Las Vegas is not alone. This city only exaggerates a common phenomenon. Prices are inflated, a strong dollar makes the US a less attractive destination, and social unrest causes many to reconsider their travel choices. If a place once considered an entertainment paradise is falling into crisis, the bigger question is, how many other cities are silently heading down the same path? If even Las Vegas, a city synonymous with American tourism, is facing empty rooms, is this just an isolated issue or a warning sign for the nation's entire service economy? And more importantly, how many other local communities will pay the price as the wave of tourist flight spreads further? There's a paradox when it comes to Las Vegas. The city can build magnificent entertainment structures in the desert, even creating the multi-billion-dollar sphere. But it's powerless to address the most basic needs of its residents: affordable housing and vacation tickets that don't turn into a trap of escalating fees. And it was in that very void that the question echoed: is there any other path for Vegas to be reborn? For the light here to not only reflect a superficial glitter, but also bring true hope? One of the glimmers of hope comes from changes in federal policy. In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, announced a rule against junk fees, hidden charges, including resort fees that Vegas visitors are all too familiar with. This rule, expected to take effect 120 days after its publication, requires hotels and travel platforms to display the final price from the outset. That seemingly small thing could become a turning point. Price transparency not only protects consumers, but also partially restores trust in the American service industry. The question is, if the whole country can do it right, why would Vegas continue to hide the fees that are turning tourists away? In California, another measure directly addresses housing concerns. From July 1st, 2024, AB 12 officially takes effect, limiting security deposits for rent to no more than 1 month's rent, with a few minor exceptions. For blue-collar workers, this is a door that helps them avoid paying 2 or 3 months' rent up front, a burden that once put thousands at risk of homelessness. Of course, Las Vegas can't copy California's model exactly. But can the city find a suitable version so that those who keep it lit every night don't collapse under the weight of rent? Those examples are not an immediate solution for Vegas, but they point to one thing. There are paths to take, if the city truly wants to find them. Rebirth doesn't come from adding more neon lights or building more casinos, but from restoring trust of tourists, workers, and residents. In the business world, some brands also demonstrate that long-term value comes from transparency and fairness. Costco, for example, maintains stable prices, and values its customers through a simple strategy. No hidden fees, no short-term profits at any cost. That is precisely what creates enduring loyalty, something Vegas is losing. Perhaps a city also needs to learn how to become the Costco of the tourism industry, prioritizing fairness over short-term profits. Does Las Vegas have the courage to look directly into the darkness and choose a new path, where transparency and humanity become the foundation for rebirth? Or will it continue to let the neon lights only hide an increasingly dim future? There's a question that quietly haunts Las Vegas. What's left after the lights go out? For over half a century, this city has lived through its characteristic cycles of ups and downs. A report by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA, notes that from 1970 to the present, visitor numbers have consistently fluctuated in a series of boom-bust cycles. Most recently, the August 2025 executive summary showed a clear slowdown in growth, reflecting a reality. No miracle can keep the light shining forever if the inside is an empty shell. One of the reasons the city is losing its soul stems from the very thing that once made it a brand: the visitor experience. The Las Vegas Review-Journal has repeatedly reported that resort fees on the Strip and in the downtown area are increasing, along with mandatory parking fees at some major resorts. For middle-class guests, it's like an invisible barrier preventing them from returning. People no longer see Vegas as an affordable place to get away, but rather as a machine that calculates every penny in their wallets. And when trust is broken, nostalgia also fades. The issue isn't just about marketing strategy, but about a philosophy of development. Some brands have proven that transparency and fairness can create lasting loyalty. Southwest Airlines, for example, is often mentioned for its no hidden fees pricing policy, bags fly free, and commitment to a simple and transparent experience. It was this very straightforwardness that helped the company stay connected with millions of customers, even during difficult times. If an airline can build trust that way, what can a city, which thrives on tourism, learn? In the journey to find its soul, Las Vegas doesn't need a new miracle. What it needs is the courage to return to what once made it attractive: fairness in pricing, community engagement, and respect for the people who have kept this city alive together. Will Vegas dare to choose a path of rebirth through faith and humanity, instead of continuing to let neon lights only serve as a backdrop for increasingly hollow walls? Otherwise, what will be left of a city once called a wonder in the desert? Las Vegas was once considered a symbol of the American dream, a place where the lights never go out, where people find fleeting but intense joy. However, as the veneer of glamour fades, what remains is not just declining numbers in tourism reports, but human lives left behind. Tourists lose faith, workers struggle to make ends meet, residents flee their homes, and the homeless are hidden right under the neon lights. An empty Vegas could be the price that the greed of CEOs has to pay. But the more painful truth is that the city is also eroding the trust of ordinary people, those who have no decision-making power, but bear the heaviest consequences. If a place once considered the paradise of joy by the entire world has now become a testament to despair, what can we still believe in to pass on to future generations? And Las Vegas, is there any way to find your true soul again? If you've also witnessed or experienced these changes, please leave your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the stories shaping America today with us. The content in this video is based on public information sources, statistical data, and official reports from relevant authorities, research organizations, and reputable media outlets. All situations, characters, or narratives cited are intended for illustrative purposes, reflecting a social perspective, and do not represent the entirety of the complex reality in Las Vegas or the United States. The video is not intended to assign blame to any individual, organization, or government, but rather to stimulate reflection and discussion on unresolved issues.